cash, it answers my plea. Every dollar money loves me. Feel it flow. Receive wealth. It's my natural breath. Stays with me. Always inside. Attract abundance. Day and night. Money comes to me. Listen now. For riches, I show you how. Call upon cash, it answers my plea. Every dollar's a friend surrounding me.
Hello.
Thanks.
All right, superstars. How is everyone doing today? How is everyone doing today?
Doing good.
I love it. I love it. What a great place to be at
Good.
7:03 at night. Listen, if you registered through Eventbrite and you were able to get the link right away, drop a 7 in the chat. Because I want to make sure Eventbrite did what it was supposed to do. If you were able to register through Eventbrite and get the Zoom link right away, drop a 7 in the chat. Okay, that means you guys did not register through Eventbrite. Okay, so that means Eventbrite didn't do what it was supposed to do. All right, so we need to log into Eventbrite and invite our guests over from that side onto this side. All right, where are you guys tuning in from? Where is everyone tuning in from?
Hammerock, Florida.
Barack?
Hammerock,
Oh, Hammerock, Florida. Nice. Where's that out of?
Fort Lauderdale.
Got it. Beautiful. 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 Is that a development?
No, it's a city. Tamarac, Tamarack.
Oh, Tamarack, Florida. Got it. Got it. Got it. Awesome. Awesome. I heard something else. I was like, what? Anyone else? Where are you guys tuning in from?
Miramar, East Side.
There you go. Beautiful. We got Miramar in the house.
Miami.
Oh, good old Miami, where it's always sunny, as they say. Yes. All right. Let's get our guests in the room that may have not received the link, according to what you guys just told me right now. All right, if you was invited by someone, drop who invited you to this segment here tonight. If you were invited by someone, let us know who invited you to this segment tonight.
Dr. Karen.
Oh, drop it in the chat. We want to take a quick poll. We may have to reward the person that invited the people tonight. Monica Davis, beautiful. Dr. Karen, beautiful. Dr. Karen, nice.
Let me give another name.
Dr. Karen was on it. Let's go, Dr. Karen. We got to reward you for that.
Cut my check.
Dr. Karen be working. Dr. Karen be working. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wow. We got people texting me asking for the link. What's going on here? If the room was this packed, we could have put some money on it. Amazing woman. She is phenomenal. Dr. Karen and I partnered up back in January to assist the people that need to get their listings up and get their numbers up. And I'm just so excited to be in the space with her. I create the vision and she executes it. Like, you blink your eye, it's already done. Beautiful. The link is attached to the ticket. Glad to hear. I wanted to make sure Eventbrite was doing its thing, because sometimes, you know, technology is only as good as it can be during its funky times. Dr. Karen, do you want to open up and say anything? Are you with us?
I'm good. I'm just excited to see everyone here. And if anything, I'll just, say a quick prayer. Father, we just thank you for this opportunity this evening that we all can come together. We thank you for your wisdom. We thank you for revelation. And Lord, I thank you for each and every agent on here. I thank you for prosperity in their lives, Lord God. Holy Spirit, lead Jeff as he go through this vision, and so that many may see what's going on in the condo section and they will be aware and be knowledgeable. Lord, we just thank you for all that you do in our lives, and we thank you for success in 2025. And we won't just be hearers of this word, but we'll be hearers and doers of this word. And with that being said, we honor you, God. We praise you because you're so worthy. And so all the real estate agents, y'all gonna go out there and win, and you're gonna be condominium experts now. And so if you believe that, put a fire in the chat right now, because I believe it for you.
Oh man. Amen. That was amazing. Drop some fires in the chat for that. Drop some fires in the chat for that. Thank you for leading us with that. All right, so the reason we called for this training is number one, it came up in a conversation from one of our students that happens to be a part of Dr. Karen and I's program. And we said one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to assist that we guide you guys to be the best stewards that you guys can possibly be as you guys navigate through the real estate market, especially where condominiums are becoming the biggest issue right now. You know, with the Surfside situation that took place, with the way the Florida market is, or whatever state that you're in right now, market is right now, things are just not moving. We were with one of our coaching students earlier today also, and they stated that they were with their previous coach, like they were in a coaching program. And one of the things that this coach told them to do was to not focus on condominiums. So Mr. Coach, you're telling me that there's an opportunity for me to sell out a building and you want me to avoid it? There's an opportunity for me to be an exclusive in a building and you're allowing me to avoid it. There's an opportunity where I can be a condo expert and you're allowing me to avoid it. There's an opportunity where I can learn why people are moving to South Florida and you're allowing me to avoid it. Like, we're nothing but condos. You go, I live in an apartment building. I live in an apartment building, but as I look outside my balcony, I can see condos, I can see apartments, I can see high rises, low rises, older ones, newer ones, stuff that's being built. There's a building that's next door to me that's being built right now. So I believe one of the best things is to be true professionals, we have to be educated. So how do we get educated? We attend segments like this, we ask the right questions, we collaborate with lenders and inspectors, and we go to city and town hall meetings where they're speaking about what's happening with the condos, because there's so much confusion right now. But then after that, we ensure that we collaborate ourselves with people that can truly, what I always tell you guys, collab decades into days, you know? And when I heard that, I didn't know what it meant. But as I continue to step further into the space of real estate, I understand that I can truly partner up with someone that can truly show me how I can get stuff done and not have to worry, not have to stress, but have a resource. So our program is truly focused around that. So if you believe that you're in a space right now where you need assistance, you're in a space right now where you need to grow your listings, you're in a space right now where you need to build your confidence, a lot of our discussions are truly on building people's confidence, then we definitely ask you to take a moment and screenshot the QR code that has a little dinosaur thing on it. That was pretty funny. Our team designed that for us on there. And we want to speak to you. We want to speak to you about any issues that you may have some concerns in right now in the space of real estate. And we want to really show you that transactions happen day in and day out. Closings happen each and every single day. Buyers are looking for you. Sellers want to list with you. And at the end of the day, you're a money magnet, and that's really what we focus on. So we ask you to join us throughout our journey. We've had success stories already through our students. And what we're doing is we're going to take over. We're going to take over this real estate market while other people are down, numbers are down. We're going to continue to grow. Okay. So we'll put that back up there towards the end of this. But the reason we called for this discussion is because we truly need to dissect what's happening in the space of condominiums, right? Dr. Karen, you're on fire. We got a full room here today. Wow, 26 people. I gotta do a poll again. Drop who invited you to this segment here tonight. I gotta take a pause. I gotta. Dr. Karen, is this what you was doing all day today? Like, this is just amazing. Drop who invited you to this segment here tonight. Guys, we coach our students. That's a part of our program. And we do segments just like this. But we decided to open this up to the public because this is truly a conversation that we want to have with you guys. And as we continue to speak to our coaching students and they're telling us that, hey, we need to divert ourselves from condos, we're like, wait a minute, there's an opportunity out there that other people may not be tapping into. But if I have the knowledge, I can definitely overcome it because condos are selling every day. We can pull the stats. We can see what's happening in Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Port St. Lucie, whatever town that we're in, whatever city that we're in. We can see it. But what happens is when we don't know something, we kind of avoid it. When we don't know something, we kind of avoid it. But imagine if you can be a master. Imagine if you can educate yourself. Imagine if you can be in the space of knowing what's going on. Facebook story. Drop whose Facebook story was it? Trim, one of our students. Beautiful. Dr. Karen, we gotta take care of you tonight. All right. So first and foremost, what I definitely want everyone to do is definitely leave the segment here tonight and read the new condo disclosure. So the condo disclosure, which is known as the condo rider number 7 on the as is contract, was updated. And what they updated on there was to ensure that a lot of the questions that you should be asking as a real estate broker that's representing a buyer or even representing a seller are now in this condominium rider. And basically what it's doing, it's opening the eyes up to you as the realtor. It's opening the eyes up to the seller. It's opening the eyes up to the buyer. It's opening the eyes up to the inspector. Because what's happening is, if you guys know the story of what happened in Surfside, to my understanding, anyone can interject me. But to my understanding, it was a understanding that the building knew what was going on. They had already stated what was going on, and they knew that the correction needed to be done years ago. But they did not want to get hit with a special assessment, so they continued as status quo. And what ended up happening was they did have an account that they were looking to plenish. But guess what? Due to the fact that they didn't have enough money in the reserves, they weren't able to get the job done as quickly as the job needed to be done. And lo and behold, the building collapsed overnight. So now what ended up happening was, before, you as a board, so for example, if you're in a condominium, you have a board, and it's typically a president, it's a treasurer, it's a secretary, it's a membership committee as well, and they basically vote on how do they move forward. Like, for example, I have a listing right now in Pembroke Pines. The tenants are scheduled to move in on May 1st, and the landlord calls me and states that the HOA has changed the rules. They are no longer allowing rentals. So then he says, I'm going to look into this a little bit more. So then they go back to me, and I'm in a group chat with the wife and the husband. And she says, is this something that an HOA is allowed to do legally, Jeffrey? And I said, change the law, yes, but everyone needs to vote on it. So one of the things I recommend that you guys do is ask for a copy of the minutes, which is the agenda, which is the recording of the board meeting, okay? For last year, to see the minute notes of where this discussion took place. She says, apparently it was voted on and it's in the meeting notes. I already read them yesterday. So if you're living in a condominium, for anyone that's here right now, I want to say maybe you don't have time to get on the board, or maybe you don't want to get on the board, but get involved. Request your minutes, request a copy of the discussion, read the bulletin board, read the updates, read the notices that go out, because a lot of times we're not privy to stuff because we're not paying attention, out of mind, out of sight. But guess what? If these homeowners were reading their emails, or they were in their back office, or they were getting the stuff through the mail, they would have been alerted that the minutes stated that rentals would not be allowed after this year. So guess what? The tenants are going to move in May 1st, and she's now placing the property on the market to sell it because she can no longer rent it out. You know? So what ended up happening, going back to the story here with this addendum here. So what ended up happening was they stated that, okay, people's lives are now in jeopardy. And that's typically what happens. Like we see the pothole, we see the pothole, we see the pothole, we see the pothole. We do nothing with the pothole until, guess what? Someone falls, they sue, then the next day the pothole's covered up, right? This is exactly what happened. The government now came into place and stated, hey, we now need to get involved in what's happening with the condominiums, and we need to now make sure that they're in perfect guidelines when it comes to the safety and the security of the members that are living in there, okay? So those whole changes took place. Ron DeSantis went ahead and voted on it for the state of Florida, people that are with me. And then guess what? Florida Realtors got involved and says, wait, this is a discussion that we now need to make sure that is in full effect. But this was a discussion from a long time ago, from I'll say 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was always a conversation about, hey, how come the bylaws are not public records? How come the rules and regulations are not public records? How come the condominiums are not forced to give us the documents at a timely manner?
Right.
How come the homeowners don't have access to the stuff? How come we have to search everywhere? How come the documents are outdated? You're getting bylaws sometimes, and it's 1976, 1980s, you know, from when they first built the building. But this was always, it was in one ear, out the other. And how do I know this? Because I sat on the board. For those of you guys that don't know me, I've been doing real estate for about 16 years. And I spent about 6 of those years sitting on the board for NAR, Florida Realtors, and Miami Association of Realtors. And this was the same discussion that we were having throughout this whole entire time. How do we make condominiums not just financeable, because that's one of our next issues, is that we got to put 20%, we got to put 25%, they have to be non-warrantable. Not only were we dealing with those issues, but we're also dealing with like getting just the freaking documents from the board or getting the documents from the association. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's now changed. So while we're all stressed out, while we have more documents now we're more dealing with more stuff, it's all in favor. But it's only in favor for those that read, educate, and provide knowledge. So drop a 2 if you've seen this document before. The updated one. Drop a 2 in the chat if you've seen this document before. You've read the updates. You're familiar with what's going on. And this is another reason why we have to continue to educate ourselves. I don't know if we have any sellers, any buyers in the room, but we have to continue to educate ourselves. I need you guys all to mute yourselves, please. There's background noise. Okay, so we have one person that's seen this document. So this document is in any system that you may use. If you use Dotloop, if you use Form Simplicity, if you use something from your company, maybe they should have updated, because this was released, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And this really talks about the diagnostics of what needs to be done. So a couple of questions that you'll hear, is the structural inspection completed? Was the structural inspection completed? Were there any findings of the structural inspection? Okay. Like, for example, did the structure, does the structure have any cracks? Does the structure have any leaks? Does the structure have any holes that need to be taken care of? And then also what it also talks about the budget. Does the budget hold what is now known as 10%? Okay, write this number down. So any condominium that happens to be out there needs to have a reserve budget of 10%. So let's say, for example, they have $1 million in the account. Voila, great, we love it. $1 million, you guys are on top of the world, you know? But how is that $1 million broken up to? And I wish I had a budget on here. I probably should have attached that. So you'll see a budget and you'll see it says waste and management $3,000. You'll see it say cable bill $5,000. You'll see it say maintenance and pest control $10,000. You'll see it say reserves. So reserves basically means that if something happens to the building that needs to be taken care of in the next 60 days, the next 1 year, do they have the money set aside for it? So now they're now required, and they kind of put a hold on it, but it was supposed to go into effect in May, but they're still working on it because so many people are trying to catch up, they're now required to have 10% to sit on there. So give you a story. I have a listing that we have, and I ended up trying to get both sides of it. And the president happens to be happens to be my seller at the same time. And he gives me the budget. The budget says they have about $600,000 in the account. And in reserves, they have $60,000 in the account, but the reserves are like $4,000, for example. And then I said, hey, you guys are short $60,000 in the account. You need to have $6,000 in reserves. But he's like, we have $60,000 in the budget, and then we have $174,000 in the account. We're good. I said, no, you're not good. I ran it by 2 lenders, and they said, no, due to this line item here that says budget reserves, and it says $4,000, this building now becomes what's known as to be unwarrantable. And a buyer that's purchasing in this property can only not do FHA or VA. They can't even do conventional. They now have to do a 25%, or they may have to get creative and do a 75-15 loan. Okay. But now, just to the fact that they have $175,000 in the account, they have $60,000 reserved for 2025 on what's known as the approved budget. They only have $4,000 in the reserve side of it. Okay. So another word that we need to write down is we need to write proposed budget and approved budget. Okay. So typically what happens when the board meets, they do what's called the proposed budget, then they run it by the members. So the members are the residents that stay within the community. The residents are the members that stay within the community. So who are the residents? The residents are the 600 units they have there, the 800 units they have there, the 1,000 unit that they have there. And they run the budget by them through a board meeting, okay? The people that come and attend. Dr. Karen, can you watch the room, please?
Mhm.
All right, so they go and they run this report by the members of the association, and the members now say, yes, this is approved. And now this is what becomes the approved budget, okay? This is the budget that whenever you speak to an association, residents are homeowners, okay? I know where you're getting at. Are tenants considered homeowners? It depends on the bylaws. Truthfully, y'all, it depends on the bylaws, which a lot of times we don't read. So some buildings recognize tenants. Thank you so much for that, Alicia. Broker Alicia Hayes. Sometimes people recognize tenants to be voting members of the association, and sometimes only homeowners are voting members of the association. Okay, so great catch there. I love that. Thank you. So make note of that as well. So they take this and they get it approved. And then this is what happens when you call the association or you call the homeowner and you say, hey, I need to get the budget. You're going to see them always write on there, rather it be approved or rather it be, let me do this. Let me try to pull one up for you guys. Rather it be approved or rather it be proposed. A lender will not accept a proposed budget. They will only accept a budget that's approved. Okay. So is there a budget here? Perfect. All right. So this is one of the listings that I have here. So one of the first things that I ever do whenever I get a listing, and we're going to get into this slide afterwards, is that I always take up the time to call the association. I call the homeowner. I check out other listings, and I make sure that I have all my documents. You would hate to go under contract on a property and you're so excited. You think you're closing 30 days from today, May 29th, and then you learn that there's something wrong with the master insurance. There's something wrong with the budget. There's something wrong with the finances. There's something wrong with the rules and regulations. So the rules and regulations, check this out, y'all. The rules and regulations state that no pickup trucks are allowed. But you're like, wait, there's like 15 pickup trucks there. And now you never disclose this to the buyer. And the old board comes out, the new board comes in, and your buyer's now living there. He just bought himself a nice 2,500 truck. And he says that, Jonathan, you never told me when I bought this place that pickup trucks weren't allowed here. And the homeowner is now telling me to either sell my truck or sell my unit. And you're like, wait a minute, though, but there was like 15 trucks in the guest parking lot when we went there that day. And he's like, yeah, but the rules and regulations state that there's no pickup trucks allowed. Did you guys know that? There's some associations that are out there that don't allow motorcycles. That's why it's on the MLS. There's some associations out there that don't allow pickup trucks. There's some associations that don't allow marked vehicles. So what are marked vehicles? Commercial vehicles. There's some associations that are very particular on what is allowed to stay overnight in the community and what is not allowed to stay overnight in the community as well. And how do we know that? Through the rules and regulations. Okay. So going back to the budget. I pulled the budget. Okay. So right here, these are the minutes. Why is this mislabeled? Ah, right here. Perfect. Okay, so we have the financial report. Remember I told you guys on a financial report, this is how it's broken down. You're seeing what's in the reserve side. You're seeing what's in the accounting side. You're seeing what the cleaning fees are, security deposits are, insurances are, special assessments are. You're seeing what the balcony fees are. You're seeing what everything is for, okay? And then wait, we're missing a page here. Nope, rules and regulations. Frequently asked questions. It says page 101. Give me 1 second, y'all. Page 101. Something's wrong here. If you've learned something already, drop a 2 in the room. Drop a 2 in the room. If you've learned something already. This is one budget, but I don't want to show you guys this one. Donde? All right. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Is it my email? All right, perfect. Where you at? All right, perfect. All right, so this is what a budget looks like, okay? It's broken down, itemized, everything, what's going on with the association, are there any delinquencies, what's happening, what's next, you know, it's just broken down into details that we need to ensure that, hey, we're fully funded, like we're fully funded, you know? And that's the next word that you want to write down, fully funded versus not fully funded, okay? Is the community fully funded? That means that do they have the monies that they need to operate day in and day out, okay? Do they have the money needed to operate day in and day out? Let me see if let's check the polls. Ah, beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So what else does this talk about? This talks about the inspections that's needed. So pre once again, pre-Surfside, every building had to go through what was known as a 40-year certification. Okay. And you'll sometimes hear that. You'll be like, they'll say, like, was the 40-year certification completed? And you'll be like, I don't know, what year is this building? 1979, 40 years. Yeah, I think it was completed. But guess what? People weren't even required to do it. The homeowners were not required to do it. If they got it done, they got it done. If they didn't get it done, they didn't get it done. If they got cited, they got cited. They dealt with it. They dealt with it. But now they're required to get the 40-year. They're actually required to do a 10-year inspection. Any building that's over 30 years is required to get recertified every 10 years. If it was built before 1985, there's one rule, and if it was built after 1985, there's another rule. I'm a student that's always learning, y'all, because I won't be no fool in front of my seller. I promise y'all that. I won't be no fool in front of the seller. I got to get you the exact year. So it's either 1985 or 1975. If it was built before that time, it's required to have a 5-year interval. And if it was built after, it's required to have a 10-year interval. Okay. And then what else does this condominium writer talks about? It talks about the delivering of the condominium docs. It talks about special assessment. So now what happens, ladies and gentlemen? Guess what? We got to redo the piping because there's cast iron. It needs to be turned into PVC, or we have to redo the rebars of the building, or we have to do the electrical of the building. Something needs to be done. And now the homeowner now got hit with a $20,000 assessment, okay? And how does this assessment go? This assessment either goes where the buyer can the seller or homeowner at the present moment can either pay it in full, or they can break it down into payments. But now, guess what? The seller has decided to sell the property. And the question is the mystery question, the $1 million question. Will the buyer assume the special assessment? Depends on what it is. Is it $500, $300, $400, $200? It's now up to the buyer. And now, guess what? It's now up to the lender. Because if the buyer gets hit with a special assessment of an additional $300, he or she may not qualify. So that's why it's preventative by doing your work in the forefront to understand, hey, this building doesn't have reserves. This building does have reserves, but it has a $20,000 special assessment. The seller's not going to pay it off. The balance is going to be about $15,000 by the time we close, and the buyer's going to need to pay that off before they close on the property. Because guess what? Due to certain associations as well, they sometimes like the balance paid off in full at the time that the seller sells the property, or they want it paid over an interval, okay? But the reason a lot of times a lot of associations like the item paid in full at the time of closing is because they understand that it wasn't that buyer's debt. Okay, it was the seller's debt. So they want to make sure that they took that loan out, they took that agreement out with that seller, and they would hate for the buyer to come to them 2-3 years later and say, hey, you actually never agreed to take that debt on with me. So I'm not really responsible for it. So I just choose to not pay it. And my attorney told me to not pay it, and I'm just not going to pay it. And now they have to go get an attorney. They have to go fight you. They have to not say you're a resident. And due to the fact that you're a resident, here's the bylaws, blase, blase. So they say, hey, just to prevent that you guys agreed to really you guys agreed to this special assessment. So now we have the opportunity of you guys having to pay it off at the time of closing. Okay, I see there's a question here. Someone asks me to explain Section D. So what does Section D basically say? So Section A basically says that the buyer has the right to review the HOA documents. The buyer has the right to review all the rules and regulations. The buyer now has the right to review everything. But Section B now states that the buyer has the right to review everything and cancel. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that the buyer may look at the condominium document and say, wait a minute, you guys don't allow motorcycles? And I was just about to get me a Harley 57 and I can't park it here? I'm out. So how do you prevent that, ladies and gentlemen? How do we prevent this? We prevent this by getting the documents in advance. We get this by having the discussion with the realtor in advance. We get this by having the discussion with the seller in advance, because a lot of times sellers don't even know. They move in, their realtor probably never educated them. They probably bought the property so long ago, they don't even remember. A lot of condominiums are inherited as well, so they don't even know the rules and regulations. They just want to get this place off their hands, and they don't know But guess what? We're going to leave here today and we're going to never get a listing ever again that happens to fall into a co-op or a condo or a townhome condo without asking the right questions, because we are going to be experts when it comes to condominium financing, what's happening with the building. And guess what? Maybe as the listing agent as well, that's the space that we operate here today, right? Is that we are going to maybe even attend the meeting. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I don't know if you know, but I just saw a notice that May 2nd, they're hosting the condo meeting. And I want to make sure that I'm the best effective realtor, and I want to maybe mingle with some other sellers that are thinking about selling. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to attend the meeting with you. How about that? And now what you're doing is you're getting there and you're at the forefront of it, and you're maybe not speaking because you're not really allowed to speak, but maybe what you're doing, you're taking in the information, and you're better helping your seller out to navigate, and you're networking in there because there's other sellers in there that are just frustrated and pissed off and they just want to get out of the place. And maybe there is an opportunity where you end up opening floor, they have an open floor for them, and you're now able to say something, hey, from a realtor perspective, XYZ, where a lot of times there may be a building, there's 80,000 realtors just here in Fort Lauderdale. There may be a one building out there that you just happen to not have a realtor residing in there. And now you're able to now be that voice of reasoning. Not really going to dissect this, but I definitely recommend that you guys take a look at it. The next thing about it is the opportunity to understand that, hey, any special assessments that were any special assessments that were alerted. So let's say, for example, this condo writer right here, ladies and gentlemen, state that, were you aware of any special assessment at the time that you signed this contract? And the seller says, no, I wasn't aware of any special assessment at the time that I signed this contract. And then the buyer just happens to be using an attorney. The attorney says, send me the minutes from the last 6 months. And it says right here, it's right here. Basically, the seller now is due to Section C. It says the seller represents that the seller is not aware of any special assessments that have been levied by the association or that has been itemized on the agenda or the minutes of the association within the last 12 months. So what did they do? They fixed this because to say that the seller's not aware of stuff that may not have happened, but guess what? It was on the agenda. It was bullet item number 6 to be discussed, the special assessment for $150,000. And guess what? They had somebody that was their corresponding secretary that took notes, and this corresponding secretary notated $150,000 assessment to be broken up into 15 years. All homeowners agreed. There was an 80-20 vote. The A's have it, the no's don't have it. And now effective as of June 1st, everyone's now paying $160,000 to the special assessment. And now you guys are now responsible, and you now look like a fool because you took a listing and you never called the association. The seller never attended the meeting because they're abroad and this is their second condominium or their third condominium. They really don't know what's going on because it's been on Airbnb for the last 5 years, but Airbnb now sucks, so they need to liquidate. And now you don't have a sellable condo. So get to know the building, get to know the information, educate yourself, understand how to break down a condominium. So is there a land lease? That's on there. That's on page 1. Is there a land lease? Is there a rec lease? Is there a standard HOA with a second HOA? Ooh, is there a right of refusal? So what is a right of refusal? I heard someone tell me this story actually just the other day. They stated that the HOA sued the homeowner because the HOA had a right of refusal. And the buyer goes to purchase the property. The HOA gets a copy of the application with the contract and states that, wait a minute, you're selling your condo? We have right of first refusal. What does this mean? This means that at any time I decide to sell my condo, the building now has the decision to decide if they're going to buy the building, if they're going to buy the unit first. And if they say, hey, I see you're selling it, it's not really profitable to our building, our funds, we're going to pass. You can now go ahead and place it onto the MLS. You can now place it to the open market. You can now pitch it out to other people. But in this particular case, I don't remember who told me this story. In this particular case, the buyer says, hey, I have a contract on this property. I didn't know the association didn't have first right of refusal because the realtor never told me, the listing agent never told me, the seller never told me, and I want this condo. So now you have an HOA that wants the condo, you got a buyer that wants the condo, and there's only one condo to sell. So what happens? There's a litigation now happens because we took the document, we played around with it, we didn't know it was a legal document, and we just checked boxes that we thought were cute and nice, and other boxes we just left them blank, and we thought that if we left it blank, it's basically non-relevant and it's not a conversation, and then it becomes an issue. So you would want to find out. You want to find out about rec leases. You want to find out about land leases. You want to find out about first right of refusal. You want to find these things out. Like this is the most, like screw the contract when you're dealing with condos and townhome condos. Screw the contract. This is probably your most important document right here. This is probably your most important document right here. Okay. I can't really see the chat, so just hold on. I got to go through my presentation. We have about 15 minutes left. So let's leave the questions for the end, but drop them in there. I love it. So what is a professional realtor going to do as they pick up a listing of condominiums? This is where you become the master, because guess what? Imagine when you're able to call your seller now and say, hey, I don't know if you know, but I ran the budget over to a lender of mine, and this building is not financeable at 5% down. And any buyer that's going to be buying this property may have to put 20-25% down. And that's going to lower our chances of getting the right buyer. So now we need to discuss possibly having to lower the price, because we now have to, pitch this to buyers that are in the space of putting 20-25% down plus their closing costs, Or is the seller open to, next question, are you open to holding a second? I don't know, if the buyer puts this amount down, are you open to hold a second? Or are you open to owner financing? Now you got to get creative. Okay. So questions that I always recommend, you can definitely add to this. If anyone else wants to add to this, they can definitely do this. But this is my guide. Okay. I'm going to ask the HOA, I want a copy of the master's insurance, because guess what? The insurance company is going to ask me for it for the buyer's interior insurance. The lender is going to ask me for it. And if the buyer is a knowledgeable buyer, I sold a condo in Fort Lauderdale, like minutes away from my house in Flagler Village. And this girl was like very knowledgeable. Like she came in as an internet lead. She knew what she wanted. She knew what building she wanted. I double dipped, but she was like, I need a copy of this. I need a copy of that. I need a copy of this. I need a copy of that. And I just done the listing. So I said, hey, let's go over to the office. Looks like you know what you're doing. Let me back myself up a little bit. And she went to the office. We got the document. She reviewed everything, and we ended up closing, and everything was great. But copy the master's insurance, okay? How much is the HOA? How much is the condo association fee, whatever you want to call it? Are there any plans to raise it? What is actually included? Sometimes the owner believes certain things are included because they've been doing it for so long, or sometimes they're not active in the association, so they don't know what's included. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen, the more stuff that I know that's included, the more I'm able to sell the property. Don't know, hey, did you know there's 3 pools in here and you can use any of the 3 pools? Did you know that the gym closes at 10 o'clock? Did you know that the gym was 24 hours? We even talk about that here in my building here. Like our amenities close at 10, but like we're like in the pool, we're like in the sauna, we're like in the gym, like at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. But we know the rules that, hey, they do close at 10. But imagine if you don't know. What are the pet rules? What are the rental restrictions? Are there any seasonal rentals allowed? What's the minimum days? So some condos out there allow a minimum of 3 months. Some allow a minimum of 6 months. Some say, hey, 365 days, like 12 months only. So what's a great thing? So if I can rent this condo out twice per year, or 3 times per year, or 4 times per year, could this be a better selling feature? Buyer calls, hey, I'm looking for a place. I'm here from Canada, and I want a condominium, but I want a place that I can rent out when I'm not utilizing it. Oh my gosh, I have the best building for you. I have the building that's my listing that I can now rent out 6 times a year, and I can manage it for you, or I partner you up with a management company that can manage it for you. And now you're now able to sell the property because you have the information. How many units are in the building? How many buildings are there? Okay. Are there any discussions about the search inspection? Okay, which is the inspection we just spoke about. Were there any findings during this inspection? Do any investor groups own more than 50% of the building? How long is the HOA application process? The buyer needs to move the next 3 weeks. HOA says they take 31 days. I'm hearing 31 days. I used to hear 30 days. Now I'm hearing 31 days, 32 days. I even heard 45 days once before, you know? They're really playing with the time frame, but you have to know these things. You have to know these things because if I'm in a condominium and guess what? And the contract says, ooh, the contract says we're supposed to close in 30 days. But the HOA takes 45 days to close or to approve. Do you know that in the condo rider or even in the HOA rider, it says that if approval is not given by the deadline, the buyer and the seller have the right to cancel this contract and move forward? So guess what? What happens if you don't get your HOA approval because you thought it was a 3-week process and you end up finding out it's a 45-day process and now you get a cancellation from the other side and you've already planned your Bahamas trip or your Bimini trip and you're like, wait a minute, we were supposed to be closing. And you got that release and cancellation and they said, wait, according to section 1452 on page 3 in variable 5, it says X, Y, and Z. And now due to the lack of education, we've bombed once again. Okay. Our condo, I see a question in here. So some of the documents is public records, like you can go to the court dockets and you can pull them. Some of the documents are not public records, but guess what? There's a whole committee. There's a condo committee that's been created. It's been created for about, say, like 3 years now. And they're working on exactly this, having the information public. A lot of newer condos. So if you go to a lot of Fort Lauderdale condos, you go to a lot of Pompano condos, you go to a lot of maybe even Miami Brickell condos. Not only are you getting the condo plans, but you're getting the rules and regulations, all public records. Plus, also on your MLS, you're able to access some stuff by just hitting the condo icon. Just by hitting the condo icon, which is one of these icons here, that's going to redirect you to everything that you need to know. But I also believe on the main page as well, my condo plans right here. You can now search the stuff that is open market opportunities, 7,000 floor plans. You see, okay. Okay. So now guess what? Now, if it's a townhome condo, which you love when your buyer sends you something and it says condo in the legal description, and they're like, wait a minute, it's 2 levels. It says townhome, but no, the legal description and the folio number has an alphabet in it because it's in Broward County, in Miami-Dade County. There's a word in there that says condo. So now they're all confused. But guess what? I would request a copy of the survey because the association maintains the building. That's what makes a difference from owning the land versus not owning the land. So now they have the survey of that unit. So unit 1345, you want the survey and you want the floor plan if they happen to have it. Okay. What are the questions I'm going to ask my seller? I'm going to ask my sellers for these type of stuff because what happens sometimes is when I call the association, they say, wait a minute, you are asking me for stuff that is now requested to be either an estoppel or a condo questionnaire or this, and they want to attach fees, you know. So you want to get from the homeowner, which they should have, and they should always keep it, you know, rules and regulations. So what do I do as an agent? I do this as an agent is I keep the stuff. So let's say, for example, I get it from the homeowner. Let's say, for example, I get it from the association. I scan it and I put it into my Google Drive because I never know what's going to happen in 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 1 month from now when I get a listing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have the stuff already ready to go. Rules and regulations, the bylaws, the budget, the minutes for the past 12 months, what is included in the association, do they have access and the keys to all the amenities, a copy of the survey and the floor plan once again. So also a change that took place to our contract is that they added that in the contract at the time of closing, the seller needs to now give the mailbox key, the garage key, the amenities keys, the clubhouse keys. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have that, you need to cross it off the contract because the day of closing, you're going to want all your keys. And the buyer's going to want all the keys because it's $100 for the Medco key. It's $50 for the mailbox key. It's $30 for the gym key. It's $45 for the fob, you know? And sometimes even the sticker has to be transferable as well. That's another question you need to ask. You need to find out with the association, hey, someone comes in, they have 2 cars, they have 3 cars, they have 1 car. What's the process for their vehicles. Oh, the homeowner needs to give them the pass, or the homeowner needs to turn in the pass, or the homeowner needs to give the new buyer or the realtor the sticker that goes onto their cars. Okay. These are questions that we need to ask. Okay. 7 minutes left. Okay. And how do I take all this information when I say, man, condos are truly sellable because we have the information? We just have to partner it up with the right buyers out there. Okay. So all of this whole thing that just took place here this last 45 minutes, I probably like, oh my gosh, condo listings, those are the worst on the market. I don't want to deal with them. I don't want another condo listing ever. But I may say, oh my gosh, I know about this building. I know everything about this building. I know what's happening to this building. I know what the days on market is with this building. I know what people's pitfalls are with this building. I now know how to sell, market, and advertise this building because I have the information. So for me, if you ask me the question, are condos sellable? I will always tell you yes, by having the right questions and the right answers and understanding how to partner it up with the right people. Okay. Because guess what? There's also condos out there that are 5% down. There's also condos out there that are FHA approved. There's also condos out there that allow for a spot approval, FHA opportunities. There's condos out there that allow for conventional loans, 5%. There's condos out there that allow for VA financing. There's condos out there that allow 10% down as well. But I have to have the information. I have to educate myself. And guess what? If I do happen to have a condo and there's so much going on, how do I position myself is what matters. It's having that conversation with the seller. Hey, I just had this conversation with my seller right now, actually. We pulled up this condominium that happens to be in Fort Lauderdale. There's 19 condos on the market right now. And she's like, hey, maybe we need to pull it. Maybe we need to take it down. Maybe we need to do something else. I said, hey, listen, we've done like 2 price reductions already. I think we just need to do a 3rd price reduction. We need to beat out the dollar per square foot of what's happening in this building right now. So what's happening right now in this building is that everyone's standing firm at their 300, their 315, their 330. But I understand you don't want to deal with tenants. I understand you don't want it. So let's go ahead and let's list this property at 285 because of everything that's happening with this specific building and what's happening with the market overall. And believe me, if we have the right conversations with the sellers and we're able to educate them from the beginning, we are now able to win them over on explaining to them, hey, what is their destination goal? Because sometimes sellers don't need to sell. At the end of the day, we need to understand that sellers don't need to always sell. But if there's an opportunity where they need to sell or they have to sell or they want to sell, we have to come in as the expert and have those conversations. That's where our communication guarantee program comes in. That's where our commission rates come in. That's where our weekly updates come in. That's where our market updates come in. And that's where we're having them on property watches and new listing watches. And we're educating them on what's happening day in and day out on the condo market, or the market overall as a real estate professional. Okay. And now we're able to say, hey, I understand you need to sell. I understand this was a family home. I understand you need to relocate. I understand you need to downsize, upsize, whatever it is. We need to now price this property because guess what? The HOA has a special assessment of $335. Any buyer that moves into here is not going to be able to pay that plus the $700. We're going to take advantage of all the amenities that it offers, the proximity to the beach. But what we're going to do is we're going to price it aggressively so that it can now be able to be sellable. And guess what? When people come and see our condo, they review all the other condos, they can see why our condo is a better buy. In addition to that, I want to add I want to add notes. Understand floor plans when you're working with condominiums. Understand views when you're working with condominiums. Understand which line you're in when you're working with condominiums. You can literally be in the same exact building, but guess what? The 11th line sells a lot less than maybe the 10th line because the 10th line has full water view and the 11th line doesn't have water view. So understand that when you're looking at the comparables. So you're not really comparing like a single family house. You're probably comparing square footage to square footage. When it comes to a condominium, you're comparing line to line. Don't know if you know, but unit 1505 is going to always sell for 25-30% more than unit 1502 because of the position that it's in. Okay? So I believe I believe if you have the right information, you can resource it to the best place. Okay. I was telling my friends just the other day that it was a group of attorneys that moved down during COVID. And they ended up buying in this Miami art district condominium that I sold them that happened to have been new construction. 3 attorney girls all buy a, let's say, 600 square foot condominium, 2 bedrooms, by the way, all for $549,000. I loved it. I loved that. I had 3 attorneys all buy from me, all in the same building, all new construction. But for myself, I was like, what are you talking about? This place is tiny. But to everyone, there's a right product out there for them. It's just understanding what their needs and their wants are. I would never probably buy a 600 square foot condo for 549,000, but coming from New York, average condo size is probably 300 square feet, so 600 was like luxury to them, it's like penthouse views, you know what I mean? So educate yourself, study what's happening, study where do you see the market, study days on market as well, study what's happening with the city. And then that's another thing, you want to view it as a city. So Pompano Beach has 75 days of inventory. Fort Lauderdale has 32 days of inventory. Boca has 182 days of inventory. And then break it down, learn the buildings, because some buildings may do better than other buildings because of the reserves and what it offers, amenities. I moved specifically to this building that I'm in right now. It was brand new. I wouldn't say really the valet. I thought the valet was cool, but I never really use it. But it was just the amenities. It had a sauna, it had a cold plunge, it has a restaurant, it has the whole 9. That's why I'm here. But to someone else, they may not care, and they may want to go like literally across the way from me. People are probably paying hundreds of dollars less just to be across the way, truly across the train tracks is what they say. But it's to whoever it matters to. Okay, let's go ahead and let's open it up for questions. On behalf of Dr. Karen and myself, I hope that you guys learned something that can help you propel yourself. I believe this training was brought on from Dershan. So I don't know if she's here with us, but I want to call you to see if you learned something today. If you learned something today that's going to help you to better navigate as you work with sellers in the space of condominiums, and then I'll take everyone's questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Jeff and Dr. Karen, for putting on this class today. I definitely learned something in this space. It is going to propel me for my future condo clients. So I hope everybody else learns something just as well. Thank you
What
so
was
much,
that
team.
question you had that day?
It was about oh my God, I think I forgot. It was a question. Oh, the homeowners, the master insurance.
What was your question about that?
Um,
Did they have
with the,
master? Ooh, did they have master insurance? Did they not? I once sold a condo that didn't have insurance. Like they just like, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? A lot of people, I don't even know if there's guys on here. Yeah, there's one guy. I see one guy. I don't know if there's any more. But guess what? More condominiums are going to now take a vote on do they carry or do they self-insure? Or do they put forced placement insurance on? They're going to have to decide. And then they're now going to be responsible because due to the rates, like what policy do they go with? Do they go with this policy, that policy, this policy? And these are things as homeowners, as realtors, we need to know. We need to review the master's insurance policy and see what the heck is going on in this building here. And then sometimes what we see is we see money that's being mismanaged and we don't know why. But it's just because the homeowners are not involved. They sometimes don't know how to read the report and they're not trying to educate themselves. Questions? Let me go down this room real quick. Questions?
Coach Jeff, can you pull up the condo writer again, and go to page 2 or 3? Can you pull it up for a second? Let's see it.
This is
I want to
amazing.
say something.
The rules and regulations. Okay, cool. All right, go back to the presentation. And then share my screen.
It's on page, let's see. Page 2. I have to blow that up. Can you blow that up a little bit?
Let's see. Oh, that's the timer. Let's see. Yep, right here.
Okay, so one of the things that happens when new agents come out, if you come down, if you look at section 3, C2, if you have a buyer, make sure that you click buyer, because if there's a special assessment and you don't push it, then your buyer, you better make sure you click
seller.
seller.
Seller, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, seller, because if you don't, and there's a special assessment, and when you get to the closing table, that buyer is going to be responsible. So make sure that you click it if you're working with a buyer. It happened to one of my clients years ago, and they didn't close.
Yep. Very, very important to read the document, understand the document, diagnose the document, and ask questions. Literally ask questions. Say, hey, we cannot execute. So I literally froze. I froze a contract today. I froze a contract, I think on Monday, no, maybe Friday. Because guess what? They sent me the condo writer with the seller checked off. And I'm like, wait a minute, let's reconfirm here that there's no special assessments, and that if there are, because you never know that from the time I listed the property to the time that they had a meeting, because that's what it says minutes and agenda, was there a special assessment not levied? The seller may not know because she did not go to the meeting once again. And now I'm responsible. We are the professionals. We are the advisors. We're now responsible. So I had to freeze that and say, wait a minute, we cannot execute this until I find out what's going on. And to the seller, they're probably on pins and needles. They want to sell, they want to close. And to the buyer's agent and to the buyer, they're probably like, hey, what's going on? What's going on with this contract? I'm in the back. I'm calling the HOA. I need documentation. I need documentation. I'm so serious about this. I literally. Come on now, don't embarrass me. RAUSSE. Really? Right here. Like, this came from the management office. Century Gardens does not have any special assessment. The copies of the minutes will be sent over later today. I wanted the updated. I just took this condo on Thursday of last week, but the lady sent me the condo writer once again, and I'm saying, hey, before we sign this, I just need to reconfirm that there's no special assessments that maybe got picked up on Saturday, Sunday, Friday night that we're not aware about. And now we're at closing, and the seller now has to pay a $15,000 special assessment, and she's looking at me, and I'm like, I was talking to an attorney earlier today. He owns a title company, and he specifically said this. He said, he says he didn't get back to me. He finally apologized for getting back to me. And he's like, yes. I said, busy is good. Congratulations to the end of the month. He said, yes. But as you know, a lot of these realtors are lost in space. And then he talks about me, blah, 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 blah. But, and I said, what are the issues that you run into? He's like, everything from not understanding how to read a closing statement, to not understanding what a lender's package is, to not understanding what representation is, a seller's rep, an attorney's rep. And he says that it just goes on and on and on. A lot of agents are out there and they're getting their license, and we don't know even how they're picking those up from the flea market or from where, and they have no idea what's going on. Okay. Along with the rules and regulations, condo docs, is the condo document now more readily available to the public? We spoke about that. Are any questions? Any questions? I dropped some love.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, just to clarify, you have a contract, you put 30-day closing. HOA says it takes us 40 days to approve. At that 40-day, you can bounce out, or at the 30-day?
Once the contract now is scheduled to be expired, if you don't do an extension, you can now bounce out because there was no extension that was done because you guys were waiting on the HOA approval, and it states in the condo writer and the HOA writer, if the HOA approval is not given by the time of the closing, either party has the right to cancel.
Because I had a deal, and it didn't go through because the the lady at the HOA, she ran us all around like chickens. And on the application, it said 14 days, but it still took her, we extended the contract for another 3 days after the 30 day. And she still was not able to provide what the lenders were asking. She didn't respond to the questionnaire until days before the closing. She did the estoppel prior, but she was not able to come up with what they needed. And so my buyer was like, yeah, I'm not going to wait on her. She's, you know, she's playing. So I just want to cancel. And that's kind of what we did.
Yeah, so then you'll run into that as well. So one thing that you have to also be concerned about is that if you're purchasing a condo or you're selling a condo, and then the lender doesn't send the condo questionnaire in time, that can delay you. So you want to make sure that you're working with a bank, rather it be a Regions, a City National, a broker that's on this, because one of the things that you hate is that you hate that the realtor didn't do their jobs in advance. You probably didn't know to do your job in advance. And then the lender gets the condo questionnaire back. And one of the questions is, does anyone own more than 50% of the buildings in here? And the answer says yes. John Smith Investment Groups owns 75% of the units. And now it becomes a monopoly where you now need to put 25% down, 30% down because of this. And you would have found this out if you guys would have done the homework and the research in the beginning. Okay, 8:07. We want to thank you guys for being here tonight. Hopefully you learned something. Will the recording be available? Yeah, we'll definitely upload it. It'll be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So definitely stay tuned. If you register, we'll go ahead and we'll send that out to you all. Without any other questions, we'll let you guys go. Oh, that happened to me in Centergate. Yeah. What happened to you in Centergate? Sonia, is she still here? Sonia,
I'm still here. Yeah. The same thing with it had a bunch of investors. I can't remember what the number was, but it was too many investors. Centergate has lots of investors over there. And
so
my client was financing.
Yeah, so these are questions you guys need to know in advance. You want to work with a lender that knows how to work condos. They know how to understand how to navigate through a condo, because some condos, even though they have issues, some lenders can close them and some lenders cannot. All right, you all, it's been great. Thank you for spending the night with us. Hopefully you learned something that you can now implement into your building, into your business, and that when you run into a building, you know exactly how to diagnose it. And once again, if you guys are interested in participating on how we educate our agents to truly dominate in the space of real estate, definitely reach out to Dr. Karen and myself. We thank you guys. Go out there and be great. We'll catch you guys next time.